Okay, what I'd like to do just, folks, is open up with a comment today. There seems to be rumors out there that I threatened to resign. I have not threatened to resign. I am here. I work at the pleasure of the President. We've made great strides at the Navy Marine Corps team over the last 2 years. There's still quite a bit to do, and I hope to contribute going forward. And that is where we stand right now.
Questions?
Yes. So you've talked about how you thought that the process for Special Operations Chief Gallagher was necessary to sort of preserve order and discipline in the military. If the president were to decide to circumvent that, would you consider resigning? Is that something that's on the table, possibly?
No, I mean, the President of the United States is the Commander-in-Chief. He's involved in every aspect of government, and he can make decisions and do things and give orders as he deems appropriate.
Just in case of a tweet not being in order?
I need a formal order to act, yes.
So tweets are not formal orders?
I do not interpret them as a formal order.
Sir, Joe Gould from Defense News, have you received an order, or is the board going to go ahead on December 2nd? If you were to receive the order, what would the response be?
If the President requests to stop the process stops. Good order and discipline is also obeying orders from the President of the United States.
Does anyone have questions about Halifax Forum?
Can I ask one more question about this? The reports today are that various people in the Pentagon and people who have spoken with you have appealed to the White House not to issue such an order because that would then pose a difficult decision for you. Is that not true?
I just don't know.
So you haven't spoken to anyone and said, look, I might have to act if this happens?
No.
Sir, has the President explained to you his rationale behind restoring Chief Gallagher's rank
No.
and maintaining his pin?
No, he doesn't have to.
Do you have any concerns that this process is becoming politicized? There have been some reports about why he's motivated to do these things.
I do not interpret what the President does. I do what he says.
Okay.
One last one.
Okay, this is the last one.
Sure. Do you know if Admiral Green, sir, is threatened to resign at all?
No, not at all.
Okay,
You
questions
don't
on
know? I'm sorry,
Halifax.
you don't know? Or
He is not.
Questions on Halifax, please, everyone. This is an important.
Great discussions today.
Can I ask you something about the Canadian Navy? There's been some discussion about putting more assets into the South China Sea to send a message to China. The Canadian government's looking at policy there. Would you like to see a greater naval contribution from Canada in that part of the world?
Canada's doing an absolutely fantastic job right alongside us as an ally right now. When it comes to the combatant commander's requests for those ships, that's outside of my lane. I wear a Title 10 hat.
I had a Halifax question for you. Earlier today, the National Security Advisor raised concerns with the lack of armament aboard the Arctic offshore patrol vessels. Do you share those concerns?
No, if in fact Canada, the requirement for the Arctic offshore patrol vessel was fulfilled as Canada outlaid it, I think that's perfectly fine.
When it comes to the Arctic, it was raised on the panel that Canada is no longer an Arctic leader, that there's not a significant amount of investment in Canada's high Arctic, and there is increasing levels of Chinese investment. Does that worry you at all? You sounded optimistic about Canada's Arctic policy. Are you worried about the lack of priority there? I think that was an interpretation of one person. I actually look at what we do together with Canada in NORAD and with General O'Shaughnessy's comments about what we do together, and there was not the same worry about Canada's commitment to the Arctic as far as U.S. Canadian defense issues.
So you talked earlier about the benefit of training on Greenland, just the geographic access that would give the Navy. Would it make any difference if the U.S. owned part or all of that to the training that you'd be able to do?
I think we're in a pretty perfect situation right now because we have Thule up there, which is the Air Force base. We have the ability to speak to the Danes about training up there. In fact, when I was on my way back from Norway last week, we were supposed to stop in Greenland to visit a couple of the airstrips and the port of Nuuk. And the Arctic did what it does so well, which is it weathered us out.
Is there odds? Go on. Okay, sure. They're very polite. On cyber, the Deputy Secretary of NATO today said that the West needs to get a little bit less, I think he said polite, or a little less shy when it comes to attributions for cyber. Do you believe that's the case? Does the world need to, put out more full technical reports when it comes to Russian-Chinese Iranian hacking?
It's a great, I remember him making that statement. I believe the interchange of information that we have amongst our allies is fairly robust.
But not publicly.
Correct. That seems to be the decision of the intelligence agencies that are sharing the information, so.
I was just going to follow up on Greenland. How contested is Greenland? As far as you can tell, China has obviously, Chinese officials have visited there. There's been business interest. There's been some military interest in Greenland. Is there some concern that Chinese interest is eroding U.S. presence in Greenland or some kind of threat?
I don't think it's eroding U.S.'s interest or threatening it per se. China's doing what it's doing around the globe. It's looking for assets that it can exploit, Greenland being one of them, for some rare earth minerals, extractions, things like that. The Greenland community is going to make its own decision as to how it wants to deal with it. We'd like to see them make the right decision and know exactly what they're getting into if they make a decision to work with China. But again, if China acknowledges a rules-based order, there's a place for them at the table. But to date, they've yet to do that.
And an overall question about the conference. Obviously, this is the only conference of this kind that has only 4 democracies. There's a lot of encouragement in the room for defending democracy, for strong alliances, and for backing each other up, especially when it comes to the threat of China. Do you think that unanimity extends into the U.S. government? Do you think that there is that sense of purpose, not only in this room, but when you go back to Washington, especially when it comes to what you do, and especially when it comes to China?
Totally. I don't know if you were in there when I made my presentation, but when we had the discussion about allies, one of the things that I really wanted to say, which we didn't have time, so I brought it up in my presentation, was the fact that there is a constant military-to-military relationship, which is continuous at all times, regardless of the political situations that are going on. I give you an example: the Marine Corps with Thailand, the Navy with the Philippines. We have professional relationships with the other militaries that we keep going on at all times. So there is a foundation of relationship that stays in place that is very important.
And is that foundation supported by the president in a way?
It's a whole of government approach.
But the fact that you made that statement, which I think was very pertinent to a lot of the discussions here about the constancy of allies, particularly about the United States, are you confident that what you described as kind of political discussions and alliances will not eventually seep into the military-to-military relationship?
I mean, my job is to align myself and support the national defense strategy. And if you look at line item number 2 of that strategy, it's to build and prosper a constellation of friends and allies for national security. That is my job, that is my focus, and that's the effort that I put forward.
And you don't see the political discussions at this point as undermining that in any way?
The relationships that I have are robust and healthy.
So do you believe that the threat that Iran poses has changed as a result of the bolstered military presence in the region?
You look at CENTCOM and the Fifth Fleet and the fact of a carrier strike group there. One of the benefits of a carrier strike group is presence. And why we don't have any quantitative data to support that, I would say that it probably does have an effect.
So the threat has gone down, is that safe to say?
The threat is being managed, is probably the better way to say it.
The USS Lincoln just went across the Strait of Hormuz and went back in. Do you expect to have carrier presence more permanently in the Gulf region again?
What we do now is we are operating what we call dynamic force employment, where in the past we went from point A to point B with great regularity. We now have assets and we move them around on a continual basis, and that's how we're going to operate going forward.
Was the military trying to send a specific message to Iran with that through the Strait of Hormuz?
No, that was just a normal movement that we were making.
Iran has said it's going to make adjustments to the nuclear program every 2 months if it doesn't see relief on sanctions. Do you expect that with every move there, this could have an impact on what's happening in the Gulf and with the possibility of another tanker incident, some attack of some kind?
It's a high-risk area. That's a little bit out of my lane, again, wearing my Title 10 hat. It's a whole-of-government approach.
Which means? Whole-of-government approach?
Well, the State Department, everybody's involved in making sure we can de-risk this as best as we can.
You were just in Norway. Just a few weeks ago, the Russians subs out of the Kola Peninsula onto the North Atlantic. What are your discussions with the Norwegians like about that? There's a few B-52s over, and I know that USS Minnesota docked in Norway. Are we going to start cooperating a little more with the Norwegians at sea?
Was the question cooperating with them at sea?
Yeah.
Because we cooperate with Norway, have for a long, long time. They're one of our prime NATO allies. Yeah, I mean, if you look at what they're doing for their fleet and building it up, we have a place for them right alongside us.
We have time for one more question.
Since you talked about being on the offensive today, sir, when it comes to cyber strategy, given that there's no end, doesn't seem to be any solution in sight to the rising tensions between Iran and the United States, are you preparing for a possible quite significant incident, quite significant increase in tension in those strategic waterways?
We always have to be prepared no matter what. We're prepared in peace. Nothing changes.
But my question was that it doesn't look very good, the prognosis for any reduction in tension.
Right, but you asked me if I was prepared. I am always prepared.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.